Coming up on Tech News today, Windows 8 boots fast, less than 10 seconds. Why you can't trust the cloud, or can you? And AOL says, hey, now that Bart's gone, maybe you want to buy us now? Maybe?
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, September 9th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly, all streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to netflix.com/twit. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And joining us from across the great Atlantic Ocean, Mr. Wil Harris. Good to have you back on the show, Will.
Hello, good sirs and ladies. It's a pleasure, as always.
Will, you are from Channel Flip, but you have a different URL in your lower third today. What's that about?
Tom, you sweetheart. Yes, youtube.com/escape and control, all one word, is a new documentary series that we made with a chap called John Ronson, who's quite a famous author, wrote The Men Who Stare at Goats, etc. And it's all about people trying to control the internet. So go and check it out.
Will called me sweetheart. Does that mean the same thing in England it means here?
I think you guys are married, actually.
Is that
the way UK works.
Is that what
You're
that
very
is?
close.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm touched in a way I'm not sure I enjoy. No, I'm a kid.
Happy Liquid Friday, Tom.
A kid.
There's Tech News
Yes, we are
today,
enjoying a Liquid Friday. I am having an alcoholic beverage, but you don't have to. You can join us in any way, Liquid Friday. I'm having a Lagunitas Little Something Something.
Oh, that's fun. I'm actually having the same kind.
How strange. I also have the same.
It's almost as we got them from the same fridge.
Is this just what we had in the refrigerator?
No, this is just a great coincidence.
A crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
If only it were a sponsorship. Will, what are you having?
I have a little glass of Italian Merlot, which is very nice indeed.
Refined.
It's a very nice late-night little tipple.
That's right, because you're well into the evening.
We're just like afternoon
I've been
drunks.
drinking for hours at this point.
Yeah. And when you're drunk, you'll need Windows to boot fast because you may not have a lot of time.
That way you can write
That's why
messages fast.
We're very excited about Windows 8 machines booting 30 to 70% faster, depending on their specs. Video shows.
What are you running out of time for?
You'll pass out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see.
I don't know.
All right.
Must send a message before I lose courage.
So watch the video. Video shows
Before I lose consciousness.
putting in the battery and turning on a flash drive based, a solid state drive based laptop. Watch how fast this thing boots. Less than 10 seconds actually doesn't sound that fast to me, but you see a Windows logo and then boom, a flash of a screen and you're in. You're into the Metro UI in Windows 8.
Back in the XP.
All you need is a laptop that's about 3 inches thick.
That was
and
hard, it was harder to
it
lift.
came out in 1999.
Right. Actually, they say you need newer laptops with solid-state drives, and you'll get a much faster boot. But even older laptops that can run Windows 8 should boot in fewer than 10 seconds.
All right. So, I mean, what's the fastest Windows 7 has ever booted?
That's a good question. But usually it's around 30 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I remember it's been a long time since I actually booted up Windows machines regularly, but 8 seconds is pretty fast.
Windows Program Management Director Gabe Howell said a hybrid cold boot and resume feature closes user-facing sessions but keeps the kernel processes in hibernation mode. So one of the problems in the past was for hibernation mode, you'd have to write the states of everything to the hard drive, and that took too long. So what happens is they actually close all of the user-facing sessions and just write the essentials from the kernel. Meaning that you get that fast boot because all the kernel stuff is there and you can go right to the kernel right away, and then you just have to reload the user.
And to be clear, this is boot time. This isn't like opening it up from a sleep state or hibernate state.
That's a really good question.
It seems like it uses a bit of hibernation.
Everything they say says boot time.
Right, which sounds like it was nothing was on. Yeah. And then you're just starting up from scratch, which I know in the old days, like I could, with all the programs I was running at the same time, it would take like a minute, 2 minutes. I actually had a Windows startup sound when it was over, which is about 2 minutes long. Then I could use my machine. So 8 seconds, I mean, that sounds pretty good from just an absolute, well, dead state.
Well, this could ruin the economy for help and how-to websites, though, because they make a large portion of their money off of teaching people how to boot faster.
I'm just glad that Microsoft finally managed to fix hibernation sickness. It seems like that's a problem all over the world, in whatever galaxy you're
They're
in.
helping how-to people aren't out of business. They just have to teach people how to boot in 4 seconds.
Boot even
Right.
faster.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
There will always be a faster.
But am I
to boot in.
am I going mental, or has my MacBook been booting in like 15, 10 seconds for like the past 2 or 3 years?
Mine hasn't. I know the MacBook Air apparently boots very fast.
It does.
That
Yeah.
already uses
Yeah, it
SSDs.
does.
That's part of it now, right?
My MacBook boots in like 30 to 45 seconds.
I haven't restarted this thing in a long time, so I don't know.
I've got a software update I've been looking at for weeks.
You don't even want to.
And I mean, and my usage has slowed to a crawl. I can barely type on this thing.
Yeah.
What? I don't have a good reason.
You could just
But that's
reboot.
all. I mean, it's all. Everything works
After the
great.
show,
It's all about what you load onto your
You
computer.
should really update.
I agree.
Not all good news for Microsoft, though. They are recovering from an outage of Hotmail, SkyDrive, and other products in their cloud services last night. By 11:49 Pacific time, they had provided an update posting saying, "We've completed propagating our domain name system configuration changes around the world and have restored service for most customers." So it implies that there was a DNS problem with the access, that it wasn't just that they crashed. Back in August, Office 365 and Microsoft CRM users were hit with downtime. So this is the second in a month or so that there has been a cloud outage with Microsoft. Earlier this week, Google Docs had an outage for about an hour. They have finally posted an explanation today saying that the outage was caused by a change designed to improve real-time collaboration within the document list. Unfortunately, this change exposed a memory management bug, which was only evident under heavy usage. So they say they're doing 2 things. One is they're trying to make sure that that memory bug never comes back, and they're also trying to improve their response time, because it took a while for them to notice the change. It took them about 23 minutes to start rolling back the change, and then it took another 20 minutes for it to actually roll back.
So the change was designed to improve real-time collaboration, which is pretty much us going, is Google Docs working? For you, is no. No, nobody. That was the real-time communication or collaboration that actually happened.
Although we never noticed it. I mean, if we were already in the dock, we had one problem, Jason, trying to get the dock up over at the control center.
It was getting the docs list, but I had it already in my history.
I never
The
lost
spreadsheet
it.
itself was fine. That was the weird thing. It was the front end for Docs that was down.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is these always bring up this question: is the cloud a good idea? Can we trust the cloud to keep our stuff safe and be able to access it when we want? So in our experience, I mean, we use Google Docs to make the show every weekday. We use it all the time. A Google Docs outage happens very infrequently, and in the case of a couple of days ago, it didn't end up affecting us. But it would have had the hour been shifted just maybe 1 hour before when we were in there and editing.
Or if it had been the docs themselves that have been out instead of the doc list.
Exactly.
That could have been more damaging.
And that's happened before in the past, where people say, my entire small business collaboration happens in Google Docs. We can't have our meeting. I have no access to my information. So,
which is why Docs offline access is so important, so that if you do lose cloud service, you still have access to your data. But I have always maintained that we react worse to these kind of outages than we do to personal outages, because they are widespread. Everybody loses access at once. But that, in fact, the number of hours, minutes, etc., lost from a cloud outage is arguably less than that lost from personal hard drive outages. Now, that's going to be different for individuals, but over the entire group of people, I think you lose more time when you have hard drive crash, like a personal hard drive crash, than you would ever lose if you relied on cloud services. So when these things happen, I don't freak out and go, see, you shouldn't trust the cloud. I have the opposite reaction, was like, wow, this is news when this kind of stuff happens. Do you agree?
Well, a little bit. I'm just kind of curious if this makes Apple's model for cloud systems a little bit more valid, because they want to have a file that's in sync everywhere and available on the cloud. So if you have a cloud outage, it doesn't really matter. You still have the file.
Well, that's not Apple's model. That is,
well, the one they're using for iCloud is what I mean by that. But yes, but I mean, I wonder if that is this system not. Is this the kind of story that people blow out of proportion, freak out, and go, "Oh well, I can't trust this."
Yeah.
I mean,
yes.
You think so?
Sorry.
Go
yes,
ahead, Will.
Definitely.
Well,
I completely agree with Tom.
Of having your information managed by somebody else, and then you're also giving up control. I mean, when you have a hard drive failure, for example, did you back up? No. Well, guess what? You just feel really guilty and bad.
And then it says contact your administrator, and you're the administrator.
But there's no one else to blame.
I know.
There's no one to
You're saying
to
it's a
bitch
psychological thing,
Kind
not
of,
the reality of the situation. But Will, I want to hear more about you agreeing with me.
Yeah, I just think, 20 minutes in, effectively a year where you are slightly inconvenienced in your everyday life is surely worth access to your documents everywhere, always having everything in sync, having multiple copies stored in data centers around the world so you never lose it. I mean, I think you're quite right, 20 minutes of mild inconvenience is massive news, as opposed to the thousands of people around the world every day that see their lives disappear before them in a dead hard drive spindle.
All right, Sprint reportedly going to offer the iPhone next month, and Bloomberg says not only will they have the iPhone next month, but they're going to offer unlimited data service plans to distinguish itself from its rivals. Right now, you can only get an unlimited plan from Verizon and AT&T if you are grandfathered in. In other words, you already have an unlimited plan and you're not leaving the service. You can keep the unlimited plan, as long as you want. But if you are a new subscriber, you cannot get an unlimited plan. Bloomberg's report says Sprint will be offering it up to anybody who wants to switch to Sprint as a way to get people over to using their service. Now, analysts have already jumped on this and said they probably expect this to be a limited time offer because Verizon and AT&T have learned once you offer all these unlimited plans, all of a sudden you have a problem managing your network, or at least you say you do, and then you remove them. Do you think that Sprint will do this? I mean, there's a lot of questions here. We don't really know that Sprint's going to get the iPhone, although all signs point to it. If they were to offer an unlimited plan, would it stick with the iPhone? I mean, it makes sense. They actually offer unlimited plans for their other smartphones right now.
Well, the rumor is right now every carrier would have the iPhone when the next one comes out. So they have to do something to differentiate themselves. Verizon's got their LTE network, which iPhone probably will not work with. It has a lot of coverage. AT&T's got its fun customer service and outages, as we've heard before. T-Mobile should have it as well. So to keep themselves different, Sprint doing unlimited, even for a short term, would get a lot of people on there. Now, their network isn't as saturated as the other ones, where like, oh, there's so many people using this, it's full to capacity. It might be a good way to keep themselves relevant in the field. If everyone's got an iPhone 5, what are you going to do to make it different?
But at what point does it become a terrible idea when too many people jump over and then the network is stalling out all the time? Or are you going to do a grandfathering type of situation where, let's say, way more people jumped over to Sprint than even Sprint had anticipated? Do you then take away unlimited data plans from those people, or do they have it for life?
But once the amount of need for data be kind of distributed over all the carriers, instead of it being like AT&T was the only company that had it, so they were getting brought down all the time. People using iPhones, this was a problem. Then Verizon basically spread out the load. Now, if every company has it, the demand, will it really increase to the point where every network will have this kind of problem like AT&T did?
I guess it depends on how many people are really going to take advantage of an unlimited plan. I don't have one. I don't have an issue each month. But sometimes I go over, but I don't think it's a huge issue for me. But then again, I'm not watching a lot of video on my phone.
What about the UK, Will? Do you guys have unlimited plans regularly?
Yeah, for the most part, we have unlimited plans, and for the most part, they don't cost that much. I mean, I have an unlimited plan with tethering that costs me about 15 quid a month.
Wait, 15? That's like $30.
Yeah,
our unlimited plan that no one offers is like $99. Why is that?
It's competition, baby. It's the free market. Over here, you can get the iPhone on every single network.
Wait, you're saying that socialist Europe is out free marketing the United States of America?
That is exactly what I'm saying, in your face.
Wow.
It's, you can go and buy from the Apple Store an unlocked iPhone that you can stick any SIM card in it anywhere in the world that you want, and it'll work. So, over here, it's just so much more competitive. All the carriers, and there's 5 major carriers here, and they all trip over themselves to offer iPhone 4 at the lowest price, the biggest carrier discount, the most data, the most text messages. It's pretty hard to spend a lot of money on an iPhone over here.
You know what? And actually, Van Roberts points out the unlimited data is $69. The $99 implies to the phone service added on top. So I assume your 15 quid is just for the data?
Yeah, just for data.
So it's $69 versus someone did the conversion, $23.
Well, there you go. Still pretty good.
Yeah, no, but and
still pretty capitalist.
And available.
You still look pretty red.
Sprint having it is sort of unusual. Everybody else has gotten rid of theirs, or in T-Mobile's case, they have unlimited, but they throttle you after 5 gigabytes.
So are we thinking that the Sprint iPhone 5 will be LTE?
No, I don't think so. What do you guys think?
No, I mean, Apple didn't do that with the first phone. They did, what, 2G on their first phone?
Yeah, they did.
3G was around everywhere, so I don't think they're going to jump to LTE until it's everywhere.
I haven't even heard a silly rumor about it. You know, I've
heard some silly rumors.
I've heard some silly rumors about LTE, actually.
On Sprint?
Not particularly.
That's what I mean.
But for every iPhone.
But there are many silly rumors about LTE, that's for sure. Just not in this particular situation.
All right, let's take a quick break, and I don't want you to spread this around, but you can get legally 30 days of unlimited movies and TV shows streaming on the internet.
How?
How are you going to do that?
How do you do this?
I don't want you to tell anyone else.
Okay.
Just between me and you. Netflix.com/TWiT. Go to that URL and sign up. No obligation. A month of free stuff.
Free stuff.
Free.
What's the catch, Tom?
Movies. There's no catch.
How can that be?
Movies, TV shows, all free for 30 days. And you're not breaking the law. You're not sitting there going like, I hope they're not tracking my IP address. Better use Tor and a proxy. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's just absolutely free.
So after the 30 days, and what happens?
After 30 days, you can cancel it, or you can keep it for $8 a month. It's actually not that expensive. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you.
But don't tell anybody.
They are our sponsor. That's why I'm telling you.
Well, maybe if you trusted a friend, somebody that you know wouldn't post something on,
on
some sort of a tech blog.
Okay. Yeah, just one.
All right, just one.
Don't tell everyone you know.
That would be
because then they'll run out of movie. They'll run out of bits. Bits are not infinitely copyable. We know this. I learned this from the movie industry. All right. Galaxy Tab cannot be sold in Germany anymore. The decision came down early this morning. Samsung is prohibited from selling the Galaxy Tab 10.1 in Germany. Judge Johannes Bruckner-Hoffmann, or not Johannes, but Johanna Bruckner-Hoffmann said that to be an informed consumer, you would know, to an informed consumer, the Galaxy Tab looks like Apple's protected design. Quote, the court is of the opinion that Apple's minimalistic design isn't the only technical solution to make a tablet computer. Other designs are possible.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean,
but neither is Apple's minimalist design the only minimalist design that is possible, right?
That's a good point, because I look at this and I'm like, what, so they should just make it artificially thick and ugly?
You could, well, Toshiba Thrive, right? This thing was a massive tablet that has USB ports, HDMI ports, has a removable battery. Nobody would ever confuse that. On top of that, this has been driving me nuts. Why does nobody put a color on their tablet? If you have a Samsung tablet that is red, and then you see an iPad, which is white or black, there's no way you're going to confuse that.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Why black? Why always black? Why can't we have colored tablets?
I have a white iPad, so I don't know why black. I guess it's just because it's the same thing with everyone having black luggage. There's no really good reason. But what bothers me about this is that it says, to an informed consumer, not an uninformed consumer, it's really hard to tell the difference.
Yeah,
I don't know. As an informed consumer, I don't think it's hard to tell the difference.
You might be more than an informed consumer by the laws of this.
I remember when Eileen got her Galaxy Tab, which, by the way, is bricked. It's been bricked for months.
Yeah, you don't need it, Germany. Yeah. Terrible.
When she got her Galaxy Tab and she pulled it out, we both went like, oh, yeah, it's very iPad-like. We didn't mistake it. We didn't go, whoa, it's like I'm pulling out an iPad, until we pulled out the charging cable, which looked like this, except it was black. It looked exactly like the iPhone, iPod charging cable. Now, we didn't mistake it because it was black, but we did go like, wow, they're kind of risking something here. I mean, they're really copying Apple. It's not the same pin connector, but they're really trying to make and so I feel like that's what's going on here. It's like the whole package, when you look at it, is like, they are obviously imitating the iPad. Now, am I going to get confused, though, when I look at it? No. I know it's a Galaxy Tab.
And it's also, hey, so the iPad isn't the only way to design a tablet. Try harder.
Make it a rhombus.
It's kind of like the
rhombus would be cool.
That they're getting. But that's like cars being, it's like, we've gotten to the point now where things are so aerodynamic, it's like, go ahead and make a crazy car that looks different.
Can't you say that every computer looks alike? I mean, you've got one computer from Dell that's like a square box with a monitor on top of it, and you've got one from HP that's a square box with a monitor on top of it. Surely they're copying each other. Like, a tablet is, a bit of plastic with a screen on the front. Like, what are you going to do?
Exactly. You don't have that many options.
You could attach a keyboard and do a swivel hinge. You could have.
And then how are you going to put that in your messenger bag?
You make it really thin.
Let's be realistic.
Make it like an Ultrabook with the swivel thing, like Intel's arguing to do.
Roll it up like a scroll.
That's right.
Have
some OLED. There are ways to do this. and the other thing is Samsung has been like, I mean, the packaging was very similar too. On top of that, they have a very large image. It's a very similar way compared to the Apple stuff. Now, I'm not saying that this is a great idea and a great. Oh yeah, you know what? If it kind of looks the same, stop it from being sold. But I mean, there are other ways to do this. Now, the other argument, like Will's making, like you can look at TVs; they all kind of look the same too. Yeah. So it doesn't mean like someone's got the market on this.
Well, in any case, the judge has ruled now Samsung can't sell that design in Germany, and this could be basis for other cases in other parts of Europe, as well as the case in the United States. They could bring this out to bolster their case. It's not a convincing argument, but they could say like, well, a judge in Germany has ruled that this is similar, and so that. That shows that this can be considered confusing.
Does this impact the smaller Galaxy tabs, like the 7, 9?
Well, there is an injunction against the 7.7. That's why they pulled it off the floor at IFA. So, yeah, it might influence those cases as well.
Although that's even more of a...
It's like that one's
not going to confuse those two. It really doesn't look like an iPad to me.
Yeah. Unless it's shrunk.
Unless you have a perspective problem.
A shrinky-dink iPad.
Like
I think Samsung
or you're seeing it in an ad and
teal.
you don't know the difference of the perspective, right?
It's a very
seeing it in an ad, you're not knowing that it's 7.7 unless they call it out.
But it's an ad for, a Galaxy Tab.
Yeah, right.
So
with the big words.
Exactly.
Unless you've muted it and blindfolded yourself, you could probably figure it out.
Totally.
But to an informed, muted, blindfolded person, that would be confusing.
How informed is informed?
AOL should just be happy they're in the news. But they're in the news for several reasons right now. One is that Bloomberg CEO Tim Armstrong reportedly, according to Bloomberg again, is talking with the private equity firms and investment bankers from Allen & Company that are working with Yahoo on a possible Yahoo strategic alliance. The story runs that Armstrong is pitching the idea that AOL and Yahoo merge and Armstrong be made the new CEO of Yahoo. Now, Business Insider immediately posted something about CNBC, reporting that a source said that Yahoo's not interested. We don't know whether to believe any of this or not. But if it were the case, it makes sense to me that AOL would approach Yahoo again, because they have approached Yahoo in the past about a possible deal, and Carol Bartz nixed it. Well, now that she's gone, it would make sense for AOL to come up and say, hey, what do you think? Now that Bartz is out of the way, should we merge? And it seems to make sense to me for those two companies to merge, because they're sort of struggling to find their way. And if they teamed up, they could leverage a lot of efficiencies across platforms.
Yeah, my original response was AOL being bought by Yahoo. I mean, oh gosh, this is just sort of pathetic all around. However, I think that maybe, especially the executives at AOL, might say Bartz is out. That was something that was a hurdle that we couldn't get over in the past. Stock looks good, investors seem happy, so now might be the time.
So I think this goes back to a few years ago, and all the rumors were that Tim Armstrong, before he took the AOL job, the job that he actually wanted was CEO of Yahoo. And for whatever reason, he couldn't politically get it for himself. And ever since then has been obsessed with sort of getting back to the situation where he could be the CEO of Yahoo. And seems to be using AOL as like this platform for his own sort of pipe dream. I can see definitely why it would work, because if you look at Yahoo right now, you arguably could say they've kind of got no direction. They don't really know what they want to be. And the one thing you can say about AOL is, for whatever operational and execution mistakes they've made, they have at least got a strategy that they're going for, and I could see how Tim could also roll it out across Yahoo. That said, it seems like there is no chance of this happening. I think it would be better for AOL than Yahoo, and that's probably why Yahoo won't do it. Couldn't Yahoo just poach Armstrong if they wanted? They don't need to buy AOL and have the corporate synergies work together. Armstrong wouldn't want to do that. Armstrong has a vested interest in AOL. He would want to take the entire company with him so that his equity in AOL becomes more valuable. AOL's market value is only $1.6 billion, though. Yahoo's is still around $18.2 billion, so it may not make sense for Yahoo, although they could pick up AOL for cheap, probably. Thing is, would they pick up an AOL that had TechCrunch? Reports are that as part of the continuing Michael Arrington, Arianna Huffington debacle that's been going on, we really haven't reported on that, sort of inside baseball, but now reports are suggesting that Arrington and possibly Sarah Lacy and Eric Schoenfield are teaming up, and Heather Hard, teaming up to buy TechCrunch back from AOL. So AOL may be changing anyway, whether they like it or not. We don't know how
those negotiations are going, but it may be that TechCrunch spins itself back out, or Michael Arrington may leave AOL and start another TechCrunch. We'll keep an eye on that. Google is going to announce a new programming language starting on October 10th. During a keynote speech at the GoTo conference in Aarhus, Denmark, 2 Google developers will unveil Dart, a structured web programming language similar to something like JavaScript. It's Gilad Braca, a veteran of SAP and co-author of Java, and Lars Bach, the creator of Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine, are going to present this new programming language. Something like Python, JavaScript, something like that. The question is, do we need another in-browser language, or do we need fewer in-browser languages? Some of the stuff I read here on Extreme Tech suggested that this would be just to solve Google-centric issues, and then it would just be made available for other people to use. But a lot of people in the comments on Hacker News were saying, we don't need another language. We don't want another language. It's too confusing as it is.
I mean, for somebody like me who's somewhat, let's just say I'm not fluent in JavaScript. I mean, there are certain things I know, but most things I don't. Why would I be interested in picking up Dart instead? I mean, it seems like you already have to have a certain amount of understanding and then have a need for Google-centric applications. Because, yeah, to me, I'm like, another programming language. I don't know any of them.
Yeah, I think the argument runs like, well, there's things JavaScript can't do. It'd be nice to have a language that does those. But then the counter argument is, well, why don't we just make HTML5 and JavaScript do those things instead of adding another language to the pile?
So one of these guys was the co-author of Java. Now, is this? I'm reading the article at Extreme Tech, and they're talking about how it's more like JavaScript or Python, and less than like Java.
Yeah, it's not a compiled language. It'd be a scripting language.
This is not a way for Google to get around the whole Oracle lawsuit at all, trying to make something different for themselves. So
I don't think so. That's the Java virtual machine in Android. I don't know, but I don't think that helps.
I just wonder if it has.
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
If it has an outgrowth, and maybe if they're going to hire this veteran of SAP.
Well, they already hired him. He already works for Google.
If they hired him and they want to make it seem appropriate that he's there to do more than just help out with Android, they do some like side project like this.
I think it's part of a kind of, it seems to be like a more of a general trend where these companies that are really pushing the limits of what the web can do seem to be building their own languages. You know, Facebook is starting to build its own sort of versions of SQL and things like that, and there's the whole no SQL movement. And it does seem like, you know, we're building these next generation web services now that are going to sort of take us through the next decade, and maybe the infrastructure that we need to build those on needs to be a little bit different.
That's a really good thought. I don't think it's a bad thing that Google is doing this, probably because they need to do it for their own stuff. Part of me just wishes that standards were standards and that we didn't have to work around them with all of these patches. It just seems like adding epicycles. It's inelegant. But yeah, maybe it is necessary. Let's move on to the news fuse. Poor Sonic. Have you ever typed Facebook instead of Facebook, or maybe you wanted to go to us.company.com and you accidentally type uscompany.com and leave out the dot? That could be dangerous. According to a new paper by Peter Kim and Garrett G., typo squatters, that's kind of what you call people who register those mistakes, can register the misspelled domains names and intercept emails and other sensitive traffic meant for the properly spelled companies. The researchers found that 30%, or 151 of Fortune 500 companies, were potentially vulnerable to typo squatting, and they even put up domains to test this and received 20 gigabytes of misaddressed email over 6 months. Some of it with attachments of confidential information.
It's like fat finger espionage.
Anybody remember that Firefox add-on? I don't know if they have an add-on for Chrome.
Firesheep?
That would it would help fix common just typing mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it. It came in handy for me quite a bit when I was using Firefox. The U.S. State Senate has actually passed something. Woohoo! It's a patent system reform bill, actually, and it heads to the president's desk for a signature next. The new law awards patents to the first to file rather than the first to invent, which should shorten review times, and also streamlines the application process and sets new fees, which should keep the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office better funded. A third-party challenge system is supposed to cut down on patents that shouldn't be approved in the first place.
Yeah, I don't think this fixes everything. It's actually kind of a Band-Aid, but it's better than nothing.
Federal officials have told Congress that LightSquare's proposed LTE network will cause havoc. All kinds of problems for earthquake reporting, hurricane and tornado tracking, predicting floods, and pretty much everything that rely on GPS.
Civilization will end if LightSquared gets their way.
I'm sure, I think that was the title of the report, actually.
Yeah.
LightSquared's executive VP said, this is not a zero-sum game, meaning that both GPS and LightSquared's networks can coexist. LightSquared has already submitted a new plan, altering the amount of power it uses in transmitting to mitigate interference.
TechReport.com says the GPU benchmarks may not be as useful as they ought to be, so don't just swallow them whole. Considering that these benchmarks are looking at frames per second, they're not necessarily looking at things like stuttering. Averaging out frames per second can mask a GPU that has trouble rendering because it still counts as a frame. Tech Report suggests looking at a frame time along with the frames per second rate to get a better picture of what you're getting into before you start comparing graphics cards. Just a little tip. Nice stuff.
The World Wide Web Consortium would like to make a do not track tool a web standard. So instead of having to use a browser option to opt out of tracking, you'd be able to do it on any browser via the standards.
Standards!
W3C has also started the Tracking Protection Working Group, which will be in charge of standardization.
Do you believe in not being tracked, Will?
I am not sure. Because on the one hand, I obviously like my privacy. On the other hand, I do kind of feel a little bit special when I get stalked around the web by those, the 1 or 2 Google ads that I know are specifically for me.
Yeah.
It's nice to think that whenever I wanted to, I could learn one weird old tip to get rid of belly fat.
Well, like when you're doing a vanity search and it says, buy Wil Harris on eBay. And you're like, wow, I'm for sale. I feel important.
Well, AVG just got its, this is completely unrelated, AVG got its Windows Phone app kicked from Microsoft's marketplace for being spyware.
Huh.
So AVG's virus scanning app was found to be collecting user coordinates, email addresses, and other information without alerting the user. Well, that was handy. A former Microsoft employee discovered the behavior and tweeted out his indignation. It looks like Windows Phone 7 will need a patch to stop apps from doing this kind of thing without permission.
Weird. Finally, Apple has come to the table. In response to the DigiNotar and GlobalSign hacks, Google has told its users in Iran to change their passwords and check their settings to make sure mail isn't forwarded in order to keep their data safe, while Apple finally released a security update for both Lion and Snow Leopard to disallow DigiNotar certificates from keychain access in OS X. That fixes Safari, finally.
After hiring Righthaven to defend its content from copyright infringement, the Denver Post has had a change of heart.
Aww.
Righthaven was hired about a year ago, but the parent company of the Denver Post has had new management, which led to the firing of Righthaven. The new chief executive called hiring the copyright troll a dumb idea and said if he were in charge last year, the company would have never had hired them. Righthaven hasn't filed a new case in about 2 months.
So maybe they're done, hopefully. Apple may hate Flash on iOS, but there have been workarounds for viewing Flash content for a while. But yesterday, Adobe released its own solution called Flash Media Server 4.5, which will support iOS. So if a site uses the product, Flash video will stream to iOS in the HTTP live streaming format, although that won't really help you with Flash games.
All right, let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
TechnologyReview.com, that's the MIT blog, has an article up today about Zork-esque interactive fiction coming to the Kindle. The first work of interactive fiction on the device is called The King of Shreds and Patches and takes place in a historically accurate rendering of 17th century England. So it's a choose-your-own-adventure kind of thing, but it's more than just the paperback book where you're like reading at the end of a page and it says, if you kill the beast, turn to page 25. It's it's got some hyperlinks. It's essentially it's kind of Zork-esque. It's cool, and you might be eaten by a grue.
Interactive books. What's next? Like coloring e-ink? That'd be crazy.
You people. Okay, we go through a process before the show to decide what to talk about in the randomizer. Actually, decide what to talk about in the whole show. And Jason and Iyaz were extraordinarily excited about the interactive fiction, as was pretty much everybody else. And this is all you have to say.
They had me at Zork. I mean, Zork.
You just I like Zork.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
pretty much. I mean, that was all I said. I like Zork.
Well, here's what's actually happened. There's a bit of breaking news, apparently. According to our chat room, NBC News on Twitter got hacked, and they were basically saying a ground zero attack had happened. Turned out it was just a hack.
Although in the bio information, it says hacked by the script kiddies, so it's pretty obvious.
That's
how many Twitter accounts have been hacked, and how many times?
Well, it was kind of a timely thing, so it kind of distracted me me from choosing my own adventure at the time. That's what I'm getting at. This randomizer was distracted.
I think it's a very, very, very good idea. Who doesn't like Kindle? Who doesn't like Zork and Choose Your Own Adventure books? Who wouldn't like it when you put the two together? Come on.
Yeah, let's take Kindle up a notch. I like that.
I like it too.
Let's
I
get
think this is really cool. I like the idea of interactive fiction because it's the perfect device for it. Not even just the Kindle, but tablets as well.
Would this make you want to write a Choose Your Own Adventure book?
It might.
Possibly, like a sequel for the United Moon Colonies, perhaps?
Just add to the end of the book, you know, the end of if Chong decides to take the train, go to page 112.
There you go.
All right, let's move on to the calendar.
It works better with a Kindle, actually.
I think so.
Hark! Samsung's Galaxy S2 is now shipping for just $100 in the United States. Except you have to be on Alaska's GCI network, which is HSPA+. So if you are, congrats.
Alaska, look at them.
Yeah, they skipped everybody else. Microsoft has accidentally posted security bulletins 4 days early, and it's kind of scrambling to fix that mistake. So if you don't know how this works, usually on Thursdays, Microsoft releases advanced notifications of software that is affected by threats and is going to have upcoming patches. But then the details don't go to the public till the following Tuesday, except that this week, the devs got the information yesterday, but then all of the actual information, detailed information, went out today, which was ahead of the actual patches being ready.
Now, why would you care is that the bad guys could then try to start exploiting these
a few days early
because the patches aren't out yet.
Exactly. So Microsoft, they've taken a lot of stuff down, but it's hard to say. They're possibly exposing software to vulnerabilities, so keep your head up. BlackBerry Internet Service 4.1 is arriving outside of the U.S. tomorrow, the 10th. And in the U.S., October 8th, that's according to a leaked documentation that was gathered by n4bb.com. So these improvements include bigger attachments, 8 megabytes, better security, and inbox priming. And that's the thing where your first 20 messages are downloaded every time you add a new account, downloaded immediately. Monday, the 12th, September 12th, the Star Wars Blu-ray is shipping to the world. No. So you're one of three things. You're either outraged.
Are you outraged?
You're excited.
I'm excited.
Or you're ambivalent.
Ambivalent.
Will?
Buy it, you will. Yes. Changes to the first episode have they made? But better, are they not?
I think he's excited.
I think you're excited. Did you order it?
I think he just had a stroke.
Or is he excited?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm going to see where has the cheapest price on Monday.
I've had it pre-ordered since January.
Well, all right. So there you have it. Next Tuesday, September 13th, Microsoft's Build conference begins. Supposedly, we're going to hear a lot about Mango and Windows 8.
I know. I'm actually excited to hear about this. Runs all through next week. Same time as the Intel Developers Forum, actually.
There's a lot of overlap now. It's like you got to choose your conference. HTC is going to hold a press event in New York City September 20th. Now, what could it be about? Engadget has a few ideas.
Okay,
Either U.S. versions, more information anyway, on the U.S. versions of the Titan and the Radar. Those have already been announced. Maybe the Vigor, which is that's the phone that comes with Beats Audio and a set of Beats Audio headphones. Or maybe the Bliss, which is supposedly going to be a phone targeted at women and is supposed to coincide nicely with New York City Fashion Week.
Yeah, and I mean, you take a look at this invite.
Well, it does look kind of stylish.
It says, come celebrate in style with HTC.
With a nice plum wrap.
It could be all of them. They could just unveil the whole line.
Yeah.
Or they could be going into fashion. I think
we might HTC dresses. Yeah.
HTC scarves coming soon.
Nothing against anything that's one-sided with fashion. It just seems a little like a generalization is all.
All right, let's
Contrived? Is that the word you're looking for?
Yeah, that'll work.
HTC is the new black. Let's get some feedback from the audience. We've been actually talking about naming the section of the show where we have the emails and the voicemails.
And sometimes videos.
If you've got ideas for what we should call it, like Talk Back, Your Voice, those are all boring names. We want something sexier than that.
Yes. Let's sex up this show.
Prostitutes. Wait,
with a Bliss phone from HTC.
Yeah.
And your feedback. All right, so our first email from R. Hi, guys. Love today's show, as always. Talking about yesterday's show. But I can't resist commenting on the Google purchase of Zagat that you referred to on show 324 as being a premium service. We studied Zagat as a case example in grad school, as an example of how not to collect meaningful data. Zagat rated has nothing to do with curated reviews by any trained professionals. Ratings are based on restaurants providing ballots and a ballot box, so anyone who dines there can rate their meal. In fact, they can stuff the ballot boxes if they really wanted to. They have been in the business for more than 3 decades. They're probably a model of crowdsourcing before we even had that term, and that anybody can add their opinions to do so as often as they want. But it's not a premium service. It's not a guide Michelin. There's not something that people visiting Google should ever be made to pay for. When you look at other modern rating services like Urban Spoon, they combine crowdsourcing along with links to professional reviews.
Good perspective from R. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That is one weird thing about this is Zagat sort of feels like an old-timey company that's behind the times by putting up a paywall and not crowdsourcing as much, even though they kind of paved the way.
They used to publish a little guide book before there were apps. They used to have this little book.
Well, they still do.
It's just so odd to think. That's why they probably have that feel like they're something special.
Right. Next email comes from Sean Sakraniob on our brick wall. Thanks for buying a brick, Sean. It says, I just wanted to clarify something that's been coming up. Windows Phone 7 is coded on top of Microsoft's .NET platform, mainly in C#, targeting Silverlight or XNA. One of the main advantages of coding on .NET is that it's an abstraction layer like Java and will run code the same on different platforms. In fact, Windows Phone 7's emulator is mostly a thin layer that uses the .NET installed on the computer. So basically, it would take almost nothing, mainly scaling or Windows Phone 7 specific API, to make any Windows Phone app run on Windows regular, like Windows 8. So all in all, this is pretty much a non-story. I don't think that makes it a non-story. The fact that it can be done easily doesn't mean it will be done. I differ with you there, Sean. I think it's still a story. However, I like your explanation of why it would be easy for them to do. And so if they decide not to do it, I think it makes it even more of a story. So thanks for the information, Sean. Appreciate that. The other controversy, the other side note to this email is that there are some people worried that .NET will not be available in Windows 8 because of the Metro platform. I don't think that's true. I think they'll keep .NET. It'd be ridiculous for them to pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is Microsoft hasn't said either way what they're going to do about .NET, and they haven't said whether Windows Phone 7
it's a little bit of like, when did you stop beating your wife? They didn't say they were going to remove .NET, and everybody's like, oh, they didn't say they were keeping .NET.
Yeah, the same thing happened with Media Center when they didn't include it. It was gone magically. It's like, no, it was there. Relax.
Are they keeping .NET, Will? Please tell us. Give us the answer. Let us know.
He's having a stroke.
For sure.
He's having a stroke.
I can't quite bring myself to care.
Well, there you go. All right. Thanks to everybody at our Reddit for caring at technewstoday.reddit.com. Those folks are very hard at work submitting stories. Great stories today. We used almost every single one of them. Z Golf, Captain Kipper, Fada, Gordon McLeod, Zelu. CZESLU. Enjoy what you have, 83, White Hat TX, and more. Submitted stories. Folks, get in there and vote. If you're like, I don't want to go to technewstoday.reddit.com because I don't want to have to submit stories. It's a pain.
Let everybody else do the work, and then
just
tell us what you like and don't like.
Yeah, exactly. That's the easy part. You just go, yep, that's a good one. Nope, that's a bad one. You can vote things down, too. It's not like American Idol, where you can only vote for things. You can vote against
I would actually like American Idol to rethink this.
I would like that,
I'm going to call 400 times and get that guy off the stage.
Take a page from Reddit, X Factor, and allow people to vote against. You'll double your ratings, I guarantee it.
It's true. People love to be negative.
Thanks once again, Wil Harris, for joining us. Really love having you on the show. And let folks know again about the Escape and Control show. That sounds really fun.
Always a pleasure. YouTube.com/escape and control, all one word. Go and watch the first episode. There will be new episodes every couple of weeks.
And of course, channelflip.com, where you can find everything else that Will's
for all the channel
empire
flip goodness.
Is yeah, exactly. That's it for us. Thanks, everybody. Twit.tv/TNT is our website, where you can find show notes and links to our wiki that has all the information about the show. You can email us, TNT@twit.tv, and you can call us. We had some good calls this week. We didn't play any today, but please do call. Leave a 30-second or less voicemail, 260-TNT-SHOW, and you may get your voice on the air. We'll be back Monday with an all-new Tech News Today. See you then. Go the Blacks.